Salamander dude, SaiyanSalamander here, and welcome to the next edition of Salem Suggests. I've spoken about a couple anime series and my favourite Fire Emblem game in Salem Suggests so far, but with season finale airing last week, I wanted to move on to talking about the MCU, and talking about the latest edition of the franchise, WandaVision. Now, this is a pretty hard series to recommend, not because it's bad or anything, it's a phenomenal series, and it's probably one of my favourite entries in the MCU. But because of the way the MCU is, it can be pretty hard for people who haven't watched that much, or even anything in the MCU before this. So to start off with, I'm going to give a super non-spoiler review of the series, and mention what films in the MCU I think you should watch first beforehand, in case you're someone who hasn't gotten into the MCU just yet. And then throughout the video, things will get more spoilery, as I mentioned the plot of some entries in the MCU that tie into this, so I can delve into my thoughts of WandaVision a bit more, before finally going into huge WandaVision spoiler territory, talking about anything from episode 1 to the season finale. But don't worry, there'll be timestamps in the video, so if you can start watching if you haven't seen WandaVision yet, before you get spoiled. And hey, if you start watching WandaVision after watching this video, maybe you can come back and watch the rest of it to see what I think of the series. And tell me what you think in the comments below. WandaVision is Marvel's take on a sitcom, paying homage to many sitcoms across the decades, like The Dick Van Dyke Show, Bewitched, and Malcolm in the Middle. There's so many different Easter eggs and cute references to all these series in each of the episode's opening themes, or just how the cast portray themselves in each episode. While I'm not really much of a sitcom fan myself, I can still appreciate the amount of work and research that went into making all these subtle references and Easter eggs. Without even mentioning everything else about the series, it really feels like there was a lot of passion into creating WandaVision, and it's really great to see. The series centers around Wanda Maximoff and the Vision, hence the name WandaVision. Both of them live together in Westview, as they face different shenanigans, while Wanda hides her magic, and Vision hides the fact that he's an all-powerful robot from the rest of the town members. But it also gets this sort of psychological thriller aspect to it. Strange things occur that erupt the sort of sitcom setting. I think the best way to explain it is, it's like if you're watching a sitcom live, and someone goes off script, some characters break out of character, while others don't, and just kinda question what's going on. Now, it's pretty hard to say which films to watch in the MCU here, because the majority of them are all kind of important. Like, the main films to watch here are Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and finally Avengers Endgame. But I'd also argue that Captain Marvel is pretty important to watch beforehand. And Spider-Man Homecoming isn't a must-see beforehand, though it is a fantastic film. But it can be a nice one to watch before going into WandaVision. Though, like I just mentioned, the problem here is that while there's only 4 or 5 out of 23 films that I'd say are must-see entries before watching WandaVision, those must-see films have their own films that you kinda have to watch before seeing them. Civil War, while feels like an Avengers film, is actually the third Captain America movie, so you kinda have to watch the first 2 films beforehand. Age of Ultron's the second Avengers film, so it can help to watch the original Avengers, and it can also help to watch films like Iron Man 1, 2, 4, and finally films like Thor Ragnarok, Ant-Man, and Wasp and Captain Marvel, since, you know, they really tie in with Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Listing of all those films like this, it feels like it would have been easier to say what films that you wouldn't need to watch before watching WandaVision. Personally, I've seen everything in the MCU except from The Incredible Hulk. So personally, I'd say the least important watches are here the Hulk, Iron Man 3, Black Panther, and maybe Guardians 2? And before anyone else says anything, I love Black Panther, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. And while it's one of the best films in the Infinity Saga, and it's probably one of the least important standalone films in terms of the first 3 phases of the MCU. Like, you know, the sort of vibranium stuff is pretty important, and Wakanda is a very important location. But at the same time, it doesn't really affect WandaVision too much. Like, they talk about vibranium a little bit, but not enough to need to watch the movie beforehand. In all honesty, I'd just say have a good old MCU binge show. Since there's some kind of meh films in there, I'd say the majority, like Black Panther or Guardians of the Galaxy, are really good films, and I'm really in the mood to watch all of them again before Phase 4 starts this year. But currently I'm slowly making my way through all of the Defenders series on Netflix, starting with Daredevil, since I've actually never seen it before. For anyone that hasn't gotten into the MCU films yet, here's my personal preferred watch order for all the films. I can't really say how much of WandaVision you'd understand, or how much you'd be able to enjoy it without watching some of the MCU films first, but it'd be interesting to hear someone's thoughts of WandaVision without seeing any of the previous films. Alright, now I've given a debrief of what the series is about, and which films to watch, and what order to watch them in before going into WandaVision. So this is where I'm going to go into the mild story spoilers of WandaVision, and some major spoilers for a few of the MCU films. So if you haven't seen Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, and Age of Ultron before, now might be the time to turn back. Back when WandaVision was announced, it was really confusing for a lot of people, since we were kinda like, huh? Vision? He's dead, isn't he? Why are they making a show about him now? Is this set before Infinity War? Is he back from the dead? What's going on? And I think that's something the series does really well. There are tons of questions you as the audience has during every single episode. Before WandaVision started, and even after the finale, there's still a ton of questions I personally have, and I'm sure many of us do too. It was really a show that extremely benefited from a weekly release schedule. It felt like every episode had an insane cliffhanger, and while it hurt to wait week after week for the next episode, it really did a great job of hooking you in. It would make you look forward to every time Friday came around, so you could watch the next episode. It was fun seeing everyone come up with theories of what's going to happen, and each episode flipping some theories on their heads and making you come up with new ones. And it felt nice having that week just to discuss thoughts, opinions, and even share a few memes before the next episode dropped. It was also fun seeing a few cameos of some characters from other MCU films, with one character in particular having a lot of setup for him going on. And while I won't spoil who, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of them in the MCU, and maybe they could get their own standalone movie or series at some point as well. Finally, let's move into the major spoiler territory here, so only keep watching if you finish WandaVision. If you haven't, then please go watch it and then come back to the video later on. The main theme of WandaVision is grief, and you've probably heard a ton of people talk about it since it's a major part of the show. First off, Wanda's denying that Vision's dead. She builds a new reality around Westview and effectively brings him back to life in this small space. When Monica breaks the illusion by mentioning Pietro, that's when anger takes over. She lashes out at her and then at Haywood and the rest of the S.W.O.R.D agents later on. Though, unlike Monica, the S.W.O.R.D agents really deserved it. The bargaining stage is basically there throughout the series, with Wanda bargaining with reality by bringing back Vision and making a happy life for the two of them by starting a family together. It came with consequences, trapping the rest of the residents within the barrier and unintentionally making them grieve and suffer alongside her. Then Wanda gets a case of the Mondays. The illusion starts breaking down and the depression really rises to the surface. Her hex starts glitching out and the fantasy literally crumbles around her. Finally is the acceptance stage. She realises what she's done is wrong, and while she's finally happy, it's come at the price of causing pain and suffering to the rest of the Westview residents. She finally accepts the loss of her loved ones and releases everyone who was trapped in Westview. It's really sad and ending to an amazing show, but I'm really hoping things start turning around for the characters soon. After all, Shiny Vision has flown the coop, so maybe he'll come back someday. Like both of them said in the show, Wanda and Vision have said goodbye before, so it stands to reason they'll say hello again, which further hints at this. And in the ending credits scene, we see Wanda reading the Darkhold as she comes up hearing with Billy and Tommy's voices. So maybe they will see them return someday as well, as after they were first introduced, it was widely speculated that the two would be the main characters to lead the Young Avengers at some point. Speaking of credit scenes, we also got a mid-credit scene where we see a Skrull seemingly calling Monica to join Nick Fury and Talos, which is why I think she'll learn more about her powers and appear in Captain Marvel 2. But I'm really hoping to see more of her as a character as well apart from that. Maybe a Photon Disney Plus series or movie could happen in the future. It'd be nice to see. I also mentioned earlier that I love all the twists and cliffhangers that WandaVision had. And I think the villain this time around was fantastic. Was Mephisto pulling the strings? Was Agatha right about Dottie running everything in town? Was Wanda consciously doing all of this and gone from hero to villain? No, it turns out I really like the twist of turning her from the mentor figure that she was to Wanda in the comics into a villain who wants her powers for herself. They even kept a mentor theme still, since Wanda was able to defeat her by learning how to use runes from her, which I really enjoyed. And the fight between the two Visions was amazing. It was just so in character for them to just stop fighting and have a philosophical debate to explain why they shouldn't be fighting instead. And I thought the acting of Paul Bettany here playing two different Visions was great. In fact, the acting across the whole series was really good. The cast in WandaVision displays such a wide range of emotions brilliantly, and it's refreshing to see since a lot of these scenarios they have to act out in WandaVision aren't typically too common across the rest of the MCU so far. And I'm sure we're bound to see even more incredible acting to portray these fantastic characters in the MCU. After all, there's been confirmation that the series will lead into Doctor Strange 2, so I'm sure we'll see more from these characters really soon. Wanda's been my favourite Marvel character for ages. I've always thought her powers were insanely cool, and she's got such a deep and complex character. and I'm so glad we finally got a show that really focuses on her and develops her character a lot more. And I'm so hoping that after this and Doctor Strange, we'll see a lot more of her in the MCU. I know we're not getting a WandaVision Season 2, but I'd love to see a Scarlet Witch TV series, or even a movie. Maybe we could get both? Who knows? I think Marvel's really came back with a bang after a year and a half of no new content, and I'm really excited to see what's in store next. We've got so much content coming this year, with the next show on Disney Plus kicking off as early as next week with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm not sure if I'll do a review like this one every time we get a new Marvel show or film, since I only release this series once a month at the moment. But who knows, I could always try to make more videos for this if you all enjoy my Salem Suggest series enough. If you enjoyed, please like the video, comment what you thought of WandaVision, but make sure to add a spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it. Also, please consider subscribing if you want to see more recommendations from me, gaming playthroughs, and whatever else I feel like uploading to the channel. I also have a Twitch channel in the description if you want to see me play some games live, and a Discord server which is also in the description where you can interact with me and the rest of the Salamander squad some more. Again, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one, my dudes. Until next time, bye.